Hello and welcome back to Continental Club. Yes, we're back in the East Dulwich Tavern to discuss European football's hottest topics. And Henry Hill and Michael McCubbin are here. Hello, lads. Henry, you okay, man?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, Fulham are in the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. Big away day to Manchester United.
Ooh.
Huge.
I'd be worried if I was you.
Huge.
I'd be very, very concerned. We're coming for the silverware this year.
Okay. Whatever you say.
You seem
Whatever
a bit confident now. You've got one piece of silverware in the bag, you know.
So,
Fulham could mug you off in front of your own fans.
Could do, but mate, you know, the Old Trafford crowd pulling United through second halves at the moment. Saw it again against West Ham on Wednesday night. So yeah, pretty. It's probably the most confident I've ever been as a United fan, to be honest, in the last 10 years. So yeah, feels good. Feels good. We were all here, weren't we, at the East Dulwich Tavern watching the League Cup final on Sunday. Doogie, probably the happiest of the lot, weren't you, in your Sunderland shirt?
Yeah,
so
I was going for it. I was really going for it.
were.
I was expecting some animosity from Newcastle fans, but they A, weren't any, or B, they just kind of took it. They just kind of accepted it. It was a nice Sunderland fan that I met, actually. Can't remember his name. But yeah, I was watching a bit of the West Ham Man United game last night, and Grace went, when Eric Ten Hag came on, he went, "Oh, he's got your coat and your hair." Thanks, Grace. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, my doppelganger is doing superb stuff at Man United, and long may it continue. I'm actually enjoying watching Man United for the first time ever. But today, guys, we're not talking about Man United. We're leaving all of English football aside, or at least in terms of clubs, and we're going to talk about free agents your club could sign, because you know, the end of the season, the summer is coming into focus. There aren't actually a crazy amount of games left. I know it's the business end of the season, as you say, but clubs will be considering which players they want to keep, and free agents will be thinking about where they want to go next. And Henry, this week, it appears that two players are looking like they might be joining Borussia Dortmund in Daichi Kamada and Remy Bensebaini. What do you make about these moves?
Yeah, I really like these moves. I think these are excellent, certainly for Borussia Dortmund. Let's start with Daichi Kamada, who we've been talking about a lot, haven't we, over the past few years at Eintracht Frankfurt. Very exciting Japanese player. Can be a winger, can be a midfielder. Has kind of got a real mixed bag of skills, and that peak time with Kostic on the other side of the wing, I think, and then they've been really effective, and they've had some great players in that forward line, Eintracht Frankfurt. And yeah, Kamada is one of them. So I'm almost sad to see him leave Eintracht. I feel as if they're in for a tricky summer. Lots of interest in Randall Konamwani as well, and Kamada, and you know,
Dicker will leave as well.
Yeah, exactly, at centre half. So yeah, I do feel a bit sorry for them. But yeah, he's been great ever since signing in 2017. 2.5 million euros out of the J League. He scored 37 and assisted 31 in 163 league games. That's 0.4 goal contributions per game, which for a player in his position is excellent.
Moved around a lot,
Yeah, moved around a lot. Has often had to sort of fill in and make do wherever new management, whatever's played him. So yeah, that is really impressive numbers. And as we said, we really enjoyed him. And this season too, 13 goals, 4 assists in 30 games. That's really excellent numbers. And also he's got a great defensive work ethic too, which I think a team like Borussia Dortmund probably need from time to time. 2.5 tackles and interceptions per 90. I mean, yeah, if you consider that players like Torgan Hazard are dropping off, and they do look light in the midfield at moments. Obviously they're playing well now. Gio Reyna back in the side. Really good piece by our friend Jasmine Bamba, I think, on sort of the rise of Borussia Dortmund this season and how they've kind of rejuvenated themselves. Well worth go checking out. But I think this is the perfect time to add someone like Kamada into that attack. And Dortmund sort of benefit from the fact a lot of players that stay in Germany for a long time want to stay in Germany, because I think there's a lot of interest in him from Premier League clubs as well. But a lot of these guys just enjoy the culture there. I mean, certainly Japanese players, Korean players, they've used that as a drop-off point often to come into Europe. And yeah, I mean, Kamada would be following in the footsteps of Shinji Kagawa if he goes to Borussia Dortmund, so one of the greatest probably Japanese players to ever come to Europe. So yeah, I really like that move. And then Bensebaini too. Raphael Guerreiro, who would be a really interesting prospect for anyone. He's out of contract. And Bensebaini, he's been really solid. 27 years old, Algerian. 5 goals in 20 games a season, so he's quite technically gifted going forward. Top 1% of fullbacks for clearances, aerial wins. Yeah, I like him. I think that's really good. Borussia Mönchengladbach, another team that could face a bit of an exodus this summer in terms of players walking away and that project starting again. And Bensebaini would be a big loss to them too. I know Zach Jalab's a big fan of him out of the Algerian national team. So yeah, both of these moves are great. I like it. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this for Borussia Dortmund. And if they're not really spending anything too, what touch?
Yeah, it's just good early business, I think. And I think Anthony Modeste is out of contract. He'll almost definitely leave. Marco Reus is out of contract as well. He'll probably stay. But at the moment, it's just good to have another attacker there lined up. And then Bensebaini, yeah, I agree with you. I think that is a potential worry for Gladbach. I saw today that Kouadio Kone is being linked with Liverpool and Newcastle. Florian Neuhaus has been linked to the move away for a number of years there. Marcus Thuram's out of contract. So it feels like, as you say, Eintracht, Gladbach, there's maybe going to be a bigger gap between the likes of them and the top 2-3 teams in the next few years. Macub, let's move on to Wilf Zaha, because Upside Down, I won't repeat that, but it's on screen now. And Belsi NUFC suggests that he should go to Milan or Roma. Firstly, Zaha, massive credit, because obviously he had a difficult spell at United, but he has bounced back and become a Crystal Palace legend.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, is he the best player? Certainly their best player of the 21st century, isn't he? Sorry, Andy Johnson. But,
I was just about to say, yeah.
But I think Zaha does take that. I think comfortably, actually. If you think when you think about it in reality, Crystal Palace came back up to the Premier League in 2013.
I was going to say 2012.
2012 or 2013. They haven't been relegated in that time, which is pretty remarkable for a club that had spent a good 10 years out of the Premier League before that. Have obviously had their financial issues at points in the past. And, first of all, I think you have to credit, some of the managers that they've had, namely Roy Hodgson, who was so solid, such a safe pair of hands for so many years. But actually, Wilf Zaha has been such a consistent threat for them over the years, and, has stayed at the club despite huge offers from other clubs. Obviously, you have to give Palace credit for that, for holding off with, by basically pricing him out of the market. But he's been such a constant throughout that time, and has really been what's kind of threaded multiple different Palace teams together. He's such a kind of leadership figure within that dressing room. I mean, he's their third all-time top appearance maker. He's 10th on their all-time scorers list. Hopefully, depends if he actually leaves this summer, but 11 away from hitting 100 goals for the club. And he's only missed 40 league games over the last 8 seasons, which is equivalent to 5 league games per season. So, fitness-wise, he's been there. With the team kind of changing around him, changing styles, especially under Patrick Vieira, he's remained a real threat. I feel like because players like Eze and Olise came to the club, in the last couple of years, I feel like people have maybe kind of slightly lost track of Zaha still being super influential.
Still
when in fact, last year I think was his high. He scored more in the league than in any other season. Yeah. So he remains pretty vital to that side, but probably less vital than in seasons past where he was really keeping them in the league. I know Palace are doing badly at the moment. I still think that squad is too good to go down personally. At least from a defensive standpoint. But anyway, on to where he could go next if he does leave this summer. I really like the Milan shout. I really, really like the Milan shout if Raphael Guerreiro leaves. Because I think if it feels like this is the summer, even if they can get him on a new deal, I feel like this is the summer for Milan to sell Leao. They need to reinvest in other areas of the squad. Leao has been quite talismanic for them at points, but he's not totally he's not totally irreplaceable, I don't think. And on a free, I think if they had to pay over 20 million for Zaha, I don't think it's good business for a 30-year-old. But for free, I think Milan could offer a great home for him.
Even if he's on quite serious money?
Well, I mean, that's for them to work out, isn't it? I can't remember what he's on at Palace. Is it 150, is it maybe? Or around
I definitely
that?
know it's over 100.
Yeah, it's over 100, right. I mean, it would be... maybe he would have to take a small pay cut, but on on something like a 2 or 3 year deal, I think it probably would be a 3 year deal.
To go from Palace to Milan, that's an enormous
it would be huge.
Up.
But I think first of all, he really suits their style of play. Obviously, they play a very kind of vertical system. You've got Theo Hernandez who can underlap you or overlap you. Depending on how those how they develop a relationship. I think he'd be superb for Milan, especially given that they still are missing that kind of central striker who can put up 20 goals a season. I think Zaha is a player who could easily, even at this age, put up 10 plus in Serie A. His dribbling ability actually, it still remains pretty good. It's not as good as it once was, but I think he'd suit that system really well, and bring a bit more experience to that forward line as well. When Giroud might be on his way out this summer, Zlatan, how long realistically has he got left? Especially someone, he played his first game of the season the other day, didn't he? I really like that. As for Roma, it's hard to tell with Roma because they don't really play. I don't know where he'd fit in at Roma. Basically, they play a 3-4-3 sort of formation, don't they? At the moment, 3-4-2-1. I guess he could play behind the striker, but those places are basically taken, and I can't see him as a wing back. So I would go for Milan personally.
It does allow them to potentially move Pellegrini further back into midfield because Matic and Wijnaldum aren't getting any younger whatsoever. And I do think that he would get minutes behind the central striker on the left side of the attack there, maybe dovetailing off
Dybala.
Yeah, well, Dybala, Tammy Abraham, whatever they're choosing to line up these days. So I think there is room for him there. It's just, I feel like...
I think he'd have to reinvent himself a little bit more at Roma, though, just to play a bit more centrally. I know he can play centrally, but to not be that kind of focal point. I think he'd have to maybe reinvent himself a little bit.
The links in the last couple of months are actually to Saudi Arabia with Al Nassr, according to the London Evening Standard, which I really wouldn't want to see for Zaha at this stage of his career.
Him and Ronaldo in the same.
I think he's got more to offer. I think he's got more to offer European football in the next couple of years. So that'd be a shame. Let's move on to Youri Tielemans, because Ed Summers 7 suggested Borussia Dortmund, Miguel Ciso 05 suggested Atletico Madrid. But just a bit of background on Youri Tielemans. I think in the post Premier League title win, he's probably got to go down as one of their best, if not their best, signing. I think he probably with Maddison. I think he was initially in that first 18 months or so absolutely remarkable, to be honest. He was so consistent, instantly sort of transformed that midfield, playing alongside Ndidi with Maddison slightly in front, and I thought they were excellent. They were on a great trajectory, scored an FA Cup goal that won a final, I should add.
Great goal.
The best FA Cup final.
And they were so close to qualifying for the Champions League, 2 years in a row, and finished 5th. Unfortunately, since then, it feels like the project is at a bit of a standstill. There's a lot of players over the hill, and the players they brought in to replace those players haven't hit the ground running, in quite simple terms. I mean, they're 14th, Leicester, but it's so tight down at the bottom. I think there's 6 points separating something like 13th and 19th. So it's crazy tight, and Leicester could still go down. In terms of where he could go, I think Dortmund's not a bad shout, because Mo Dahoud, they've already said, is definitely leaving. Jude Bellingham will maybe leave this summer. I don't think it's a guarantee, to be honest, but he might leave this summer. And they could definitely do with a couple of midfielders, because they're already quite light in that area after letting Witsel and Delaney go in recent years as well. They've only got Sally Ozcan and Emre Can as their other midfield options, really, that are being used regularly. And Tielemans brings a certain level of defensive output. He's not massive defensive numbers, but I think he'd do really well in the Bundesliga, to be honest. I think he's got a great range of passing. He's very good at holding onto the ball in tight spaces. And he's, pretty progressive with his passing too. I think he's about 7.2, which is about 2 less than De Bruyne. So it's not bad at all. That actually ranks him in the top 13% in Europe. So I think with wide open spaces in front of him and some amazing off-the-ball runners at Dortmund, I think he could potentially be really good there. Miguel Ciso 05 suggestion of Atletico Madrid. I find it really difficult to recommend anyone for Atletico Madrid at the moment, just because we don't know where the project is. Is Simeone leaving? Who's going to be the new manager? He doesn't really feel like a Simeone type player, to be honest. So I don't really agree with you there, Miguel.
They already kind of have Rodrigo de Paul in that kind of position as well.
It feels a bit random. Right, let's move on to Moussa Dembele. Henry, do you want to take this one? There's a few suggestions. Everton from Maltese Interfan, Real Sociedad from Miles FC, Gladbach from Zav Noodlebrain, which always cracks me up, Zav Noodlebrain. But Moussa Dembele, weird season.
Well, he sort of burns hot and cold, doesn't he? One season on, one season off at the moment. I mean, 21 goals and 4 assists in 30 league games last season for Lyon is quite remarkable. And then this season he's dropped to 3 goals and 18 appearances.
A lot off the bench.
14th in the squad for minutes, which is a surprise. I mean, something must have gone wrong behind the scenes there for him to sort of drastically drifted away from the team in such a fashion. But he is a good striker, capable of scoring some great goals. He does seem to pop up every year with a finish where you look at it and you go, oh, Moussa Dembele's really good. Yeah. So he's got that ability. And it showed when he's in a team which are putting kind of chances in front of him that he can put them away. I do think he's been a pretty clinical finisher throughout sort of the stages of his career. Let's run through these suggestions then. Everton, it's impossible to say if they're are they gonna survive? If not,
based on that performance against Arsenal, I don't know, man.
It's hard. Initially, it was looking good. I think the fact they got Pickford to sign an extension is great. I'm assuming there must be a relegation clause.
Strange call from him.
There must be a relegation clause in that contract. If Everton survive, then they'll probably have the finances to give him a bumper contract, because really he's the only one that he'd want to go to is Sociedad, who probably, I don't know, would necessarily give him the wages, which are a massive leap from what he's earning at Lyon. It looks like Sociedad could get Champions League football in third place at the moment, having a fantastic season. If I was them, I'd be doing all they could to keep Sorloth on a permanent deal. Obviously, last season was quite quiet. This season, they put him on loan again, and actually he's been much improved, I think. And I like Alexander Sorloth as a striker. He had that difficult time, what was it, at Crystal Palace, I think. Had a rise again at Trabzonspor, faded a bit again at Leipzig, but now looks to have sort of found a home.
They haven't really missed Alexander Isak, which is quite
impressive. That's exactly right. Yeah, he looks like he's found a home at Sociedad. So I hope, for their sake, they can keep him there. And I think Leipzig tend to be kind of pretty honest with their business. I think they'd find a way to engineer.
They've got loads of strikers coming in as well. They've got Sesko coming in. They can't be greedy.
Absolutely. So yeah, if I was Sociedad, I'd rather be going for a proven sort of lover of the club rather than take Moussa Dembele. And so which goes to Gladbach, which he would be a good replacement. I think he'd be an excellent choice. And actually, I think at this point in his career, that's probably his level, going to someone like Gladbach. Then again, can they offer more money than what Lyon could probably offer him to stay? Lyon looks like they will probably miss out on European football again. Another big hammer to their finances. Gladbach, probably the same. I'm not sure they're going to get into the European spots this year. The top 6 of German football so strong. So it's a tricky one for him. I think he might just have to accept going to a club where a couple of years and then maybe try and get a big move after that. I wouldn't be surprised if he got a short-term deal at wherever he went next. Because
would you take him at Fulham?
Would I take him at Fulham?
Back to
where it all began for him. I would not take him at Fulham, but I definitely wouldn't make him a starter over Mitrovic. And actually, I think Carlos Vinicius is a very honest, decent striker.
Decent striker.
Well, he's not a world beater, but off the bench, I think there's something quite likeable about Carlos Vinicius. He works hard, and there's something just missing in his game. Moussa Dembele, fine, but I wouldn't pay stupid wages to get him anywhere.
Is Carlos Vinicius permanent, or is he on loan?
Permanent.
Okay. Maybe
I feel like Lille could be a shout for Moussa Dembele under Paulo Fonseca. I think previous iterations of that team, I don't think would have suited him. I think he needs balls being fed into him at quite a high rate, doesn't he? But under Paulo Fonseca, they've obviously become a way more exciting attacking unit. That's what he's benefited from at Lyon. I feel like that would be quite an easy transition. That doesn't have to leave France. He's so proven in Ligue 1. Doesn't need to at 26 get used to another league. I think that would be my shout.
The only issue with
if they lose Jonathan David, of course. Yeah,
which does look likely. Although I don't know which club's going to go for Jonathan David. It's quite difficult to see. But what was I going to say? Yes, Moussa Dembele. It feels like he might just pay for these slightly inconsistent seasons. Like he had that really bad spell at Atletico Madrid with a few injuries.
He was completely injured though.
I think he got COVID as well. And then this season's just been pretty forgettable. He's been kept out of a side by Lacazette, who's had a great year. But at the same time, you should really be pushing past Lacazette at 26 years old, especially when you scored over 20 league goals last year. Let's briefly chat Raphael Guerreiro. El Manyaneng says Man City. I think we've talked about this on numerous times on this show. He does feel like a pet player. He's an unbelievable technician. 29 years old. He actually joined from Lorient in 2016. Didn't remember him being at Lorient whatsoever, but he's basically an attacking cheat code. Unbelievable going forward. Takes amazing free kicks, great long range strikes. Actually not too... He's not brilliant defensively, but at the same time, he can make do. And when you've been playing Bernardo Silva there occasionally in a new sort of look 3 at the back formation, I think he'd be a good addition for Man City on a free. It just feels pretty low risk, and maybe you'll sign another top quality left back and interchange between the two of them. I saw a really good actually it was a TikTok video from Euro Expert, friend of the channel, and he was saying that maybe he feels that Pep's trying to go a little bit more defensive this season and try and be a bit more control based, which maybe isn't suggesting that maybe someone like Raphael Guerreiro would, but then at the same time his pass completion's always been very high. He's very good at recycling possession, so I kind of like that move. Cubs, let's move on to one of these other ones. Who do you want to talk about? We've got Jonathan Bamba, we've got Naby Keita, we've got Marco Asensio.
Yeah, it feels a little bit of a shame that Bamba's leaving, or could leave Lille at this point, because I think he's been a great servant to the club. Obviously joined in 2018, was superb in that debut season, which was the same season that Nicola Pepe was, tearing up Ligue 1 and obviously earning that huge move to Arsenal. I thought Bamba was almost as impressive as him overall, and I think, the kind of, would you say partnership, but the kind of connection that they had on either wing was really, really important. And I think, Pepe's potentially going to miss that later in his career. But yeah, 16 goal contributions in that first campaign. Got another 17 goal contributions in that famous 2021 season. He's played at least 37 games for them in every campaign that he's been there. He's had a bit of a quieter season this term. Only 5 goals and 3 assists in 21 games this term. So yeah, I mean, maybe a change of scene would be good for him. I mean, I feel like his output hasn't been amazing, but he still remains a really exciting attacking player in that Lille setup. But yeah, I mean, the suggestions of Lyon or Nantes from J-Lo 1966, I think Lyon would be more suitable for him in terms of a club that has ambitions of getting back into Europe. I think he's that level of player. I think he's at least a Europa League level player, if not a Champions League level player. Lyon are set to lose, or Tete's obviously already on loan at Leicester, probably going to lose him permanently this summer. Toko Akambi as well, probably going to be off in the summer as well. So they need a wide player to fill that void. Like we say, Lacazette, an ageing Lacazette is up top for them. Moussa Dembele's probably going to leave as well. So I think someone like Bamba, who has pretty strong shooting and creative numbers. I think he'd suit that Lyon setup well.
Nantes is not going to happen. No. They don't have the ability to pay the kind of wages that he'd be looking to get. I like to see like a Marseille or a Lazio, something like that. Bit of flair.
Change of scene.
Yeah.
Lazio need a bit of a regen, I think.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, Zaccagni does play on the left, but if they could get someone in on the right, Pedro's not getting, even though he's playing really well.
It's quite an ageing forward line. Yeah. I mean, even Zaccagni's not super young.
Immobile, Felipe Anderson,
I think Lazio would be cool, or Marseille. I mean, who wouldn't want to play for Marseille? Just good fun.
Fair enough. Okay, nice. Let's move on to Naby Keita. Now, Naby Keita, I just don't know where he goes, to be honest, because he's missed so many games. He's missed 84 games with injury since arriving from Leipzig in 2018. He's only played more than 1,000 league minutes twice in 4 completed seasons. And neither of them were way over 1,000 minutes either. I was looking at his best campaign. It was probably 1920. I think he played 18 Premier League games, 9 of which were starts. Like, the guy cannot stay fit. And he's also had some quite poor games on occasion. I feel sorry for saying that because he's clearly had such battles with injury, but I remember being substituted before half-time against Real Madrid in a Champions League tie. The other night against Crystal Palace, he was substituted at half-time. Like, a lot of players could have been, to be honest. I mean, Liverpool looked really flat again, although they did put in a better performance against Wolves last night. But Naby Keita, I have no idea where he goes. I mean, Cecil Takim in Defo says Borussia Dortmund. I think they've had so many issues with fitness and players over the last few years. I don't think they want to go there, to be honest. Sean 15 McKenzie said Atletico Madrid. I think, what is your guys' obsession with Atletico Madrid? No, I don't see that either, to be honest. So I'm not sure where he goes. I have genuinely no idea. If you've got a better suggestion in the comments, let us know. Henry, let's briefly touch on Marco Asensio. Where do you think he should go? He's had a little bit of a slight boost in the post-World Cup.
A remontada.
Oh, yeah, gosh. That is a Football Daily word, if ever there was one. Where should he go? Well, we've got Real Betis from @Cecil, Takim and Defo, and then Liverpool.
They were specifically saying as a Salah backup.
As a Salah, no, I don't think Liverpool's right.
Big wages.
For him. Yeah, big wages. Actually, a very different player to Salah in many ways. I like Asensio. I actually think something like Betis would be a good fit for him.
Can strike a ball.
Yeah, I mean, if Betis can get into some kind of European competition, I mean, it's difficult because they couldn't even find the money to sign Bellerin on a permanent deal, which makes me worried about their ability to give Asensio the kind of wages he wants. But if we saw someone like Isco sort of humbly sort of go to Union Berlin, I know it didn't work out in the end, but if Asensio's got that kind of sensibility, then maybe take a step down. He's never going to play for a club as big as Madrid again. He is, yeah. When he's good, he is pretty great. He's 0.79 expected goals and assists per 90 this season. He is.
It's a really good level.
He can score some spectacular goals. I remember when he burst through, he just seemed to hit them from everywhere.
Yeah, like
and they were going in. It was just
sort of time.
It was so exciting. So yeah, I think a club like that, but maybe Italy. I think Italy would probably be his best bet. I wouldn't be surprised if either of the Milan sides went in for him. And again, Roma or Lazio. I think that's the kind of level that he should be looking at this point in time. And it stinks of like a Juventus move, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Asensio.
He's not the most dynamic, but he can really strike a ball. So, yeah, I quite like those suggestions as well. Guys, where do you think those free agents should go this summer? Which one of those do you want your club to sign? Let us know in the comments down below. And let's move on to our big match predictions, which are really hotting up, actually. Okay, so the big match predictions. It's time to review last week's action. Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid. We all backed Real Madrid. It finished 1-1. Really disappointing game. Yeah. Wish I hadn't watched that. Real shame. No points to any of us. Move on from that game. Bayern Munich versus Union Berlin. McCubbs went 1-1. Henry went 3-1. I went 1-0. It finished 3-0. Very close to a perfect score, Henry.
Yeah,
but
almost taught them the lesson. Well, they did teach them the lesson.
Yeah, you did. Out of your little quote, that was excellent. 1 point to myself and Henry. Unfortunately for Henry, nearly got the 3 there. AC Milan versus Atalanta. Henry backed Atalanta. What a fool. And I went 2-1 Milan. My Cubs went 2-0 Milan, which was a perfect score. First one of the series?
Maybe. So no, you two taking the big L for that.
Absolutely.
Well done, mate.
But yeah, well done.
Yeah.
1 point to
loser,
me,
mate. You're a loser.
3 to McCubbs. So the scores are as follows. I'm on 46, Henry's on 35, and McCubbs is on 29. Could there be a change in the next couple of weeks, McCubbs?
Maybe. I think there will be. Yeah, I think there will be. It seems like there's momentum building at the bottom of the table.
Editing the scoreboard's been so easy for the last few years.
It literally doesn't change, does it? But it is soon to change. So maybe when you're editing in a couple of weeks, you'll have some work to do there, Henry. You'll have to take your name and put it lower, and then take mine and put it higher. Okay. I can show you how to do it if you want.
We'll see what happens.
We can get into the logistics of that in due course. But guys, there are some games to talk about, and we need to talk about them fast and get this video out soon, because 2 of the games are happening on Friday night. If you have got no plans tonight, settle it down in front of the sofa. There are some huge games. So Dortmund versus Leipzig is tonight at 7:30. Second versus fourth. 4 points between them. Henry, what are your initial thoughts about this one?
Oh, what a game. I'm very excited.
2 teams in great form.
This one, yeah, I think.
Dortmund slightly better.
Exactly. I mean, 7 wins from 7 since the World Cup? They are really going for it at the moment. 20 goals scored, 6 against. These are great numbers. They were 9 points off leaders Bayern, and now they're in second, only behind Bayern on goal difference. So it's thrilling. It's good. It's what we want to see. And I mean,
best title race in Europe? Yeah.
100%. I think we were saying it last week. It's slightly moved. It's slightly moved a bit in that time. I do think it's probably just these two who are going to be going for it. Although I think Leipzig will be there and thereabout come the end, because they're also just
Union Berlin fans just punching their screens right now.
Yeah, sorry. They should go for the Europa League. That'd be fun. That'd be epic. But yeah, I mean, they're just scoring loads. I think Haller's back in the attack already has made an impact. I actually think his genuine story arc this year has probably given that whole dressing room a boost once more. They've just got a lot of players playing really well at the moment. I don't think there's that constant Jude Bellingham chat, which probably I imagine every year when this is happening, it probably destabilises that team a bit, because they've got will he stay, won't he stay in regards to their best players.
He's played it well as well. He's not talking publicly. He's just getting on with business.
Yeah, absolutely, and making positive signings, as we were saying, in the market. I think they're looking up at the moment. And actually, I think we were a bit harsh on Terzic at one point. I know that Pat included him in managers that essentially weren't good enough for the job they're doing, and that's
not aged well, Patrick.
I think it was a fair shout at the time. I think you could argue that Terzic was upgradable, that there were bigger managers out there who probably could do something with this Dortmund side, but Terzic, as he showed when he last took over the side, he seems to connect with them on a very kind of personal level, and so you cannot argue with what they've done this season. And but I mean, the test is coming up now. Leipzig, Chelsea, Schalke, these are kind of games they have to win. Köln, who are having a quietly sort of competent campaign this season, and then Bayern on the 1st of April. So they just need to be in a position for that game where if they can take something out of it, then Bayern are in serious trouble, because Bayern are showing that they can hiccup at moments this year. That said, this game is tricky, isn't it? I mean, Leipzig rated as the second best side in Germany by expected points. They've got so many great attacking forward players at the moment. I think Szoboszlai has been looking good recently. Yeah. Oh, goodness.
We need a scoreline. It's a toughie.
He's a toughie.
He is.
I'm going to say it's fun. I'm going to go for a 3-2 Dortmund victory. I'm
Oh,
going to go for the bonus point.
bonus.
Classic Bundesliga under the lights. That'd be epic. Oh, McCubs, are you in agreement? You see goals?
I think I do see goals. I think these are two great teams. I think Leipzig have also been obviously superb over the last 2 months. They got that big win over Frankfurt last weekend. Werner got on the score sheet. Forsberg, who has really come into form recently. Really enjoy watching Forsberg over the last month. It's a really tough one to call. I think Dortmund. The one thing I'd say about Dortmund is maybe they'll have one eye on the Chelsea game midweek. Huge game for them, but equally they are level on points with Bayern, so like they can't
Leipzig
really.
City as well.
Yeah, it's true. I do forget that Leipzig have City, but is that going to be the following? Will that be the following week? I believe. I'm
maybe.
not sure.
I'm getting confused with my days.
But
Yes, I think
the Champions League is so staggered at the moment, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, oh god, I think. The problem with Leipzig is Lima's suspended, and I think he's just so important to them. And I think that could put them at a bit of a disadvantage. But equally, I think they've got so many attacking weapons that could really hurt that Dortmund back line. So I think I'm going to go for the classic 2-2.
The 2-2.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dukes, if you were Dortmund, would you be prioritising the league or the Champions League? Surely, because I think at this point the league.
Yeah, I think there's better teams in the Champions League. I mean, draw dependent, they could easily make the semi-finals. They haven't even beaten Chelsea yet. We can't get too ahead of ourselves. But yeah, they could easily make the semi-finals. But what is it? No title since 2013. So 2012. So it's a long. Yeah, of course. Bayern won the treble in 2013. So I mean, it's a massive opportunity. They haven't even been that close for quite a while. I know they scored a load of goals last year, but their defence was so bad, and it feels like Terzic has, compensated for the loss of Haaland by making the defence a little bit better. We said that was going to happen because they brought in actual defensive midfielders. They brought in 2 great centre-backs, and Schlotterbeck's actually been great in the last month or so as well. Kind of gone under the radar because I wasn't that impressed with him in the first 3 months of the season. In this game, I might go for a little upset though. I might just go for a 2-1 Leipzig. I don't really know why. I've just got a little feeling. Okay, let's move on to Napoli versus Lazio. This is also taking place tonight at 7:45. It's first versus fourth. 20 points between them. McCubs, this doesn't feel like upset territory just because Napoli have just been so incredibly consistent, particularly at home.
Yeah, they're incredibly consistent at this point, aren't they? It just feels silly betting against them. There was in January after they lost to Inter, I was like, okay, it feels like it's worth,
The wobble could have come.
Yeah, it felt like there was a wobble there because, I don't know, it just felt natural, didn't it? It felt like this Napoli team, they don't have the biggest strength and depth, it just felt, it felt like surely they were going to at least give up some ground in the title race, and they've got other things to focus on, namely the Champions League, but they're pretty comfortable in that Champions League tie now against Frankfurt. So yeah, I just feel like the momentum is just still there, isn't it? And I feel like there's no reason for them to let up. There's not like a huge reason to rest players yet. They're out of the Coppa Italia, so they don't have to. They're not fighting on 3 fronts, which would have been quite a lot for this squad. And Osimhen is just, he's just the best striker in Europe at the moment, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, Haaland probably still is, but he's just insane. Go and check out the Osimhen Explained, by the way, if you haven't done so already. Yeah. Thanks for everyone who has watched. It's done really well. It's
really flown in the last couple of weeks. I was going to say, if you had to pick a team of the season and you had to pick a striker, I'd be tempted to put an Osimhen over Haaland.
Wow.
Not because Haaland hasn't been phenomenal in terms of his goal scoring, but in terms of carrying a side, in terms of making a bigger difference to your team, I think it's got to be Osimhen.
I agree with you.
But equally, if Man City were to win the league, then it's
with
because of Haaland. It's because Haaland's scored that much. I think Osimhen's the better story. I think he's probably come up with more. Osimhen's had more like memorable winning goals this season. I'm thinking that one against Roma. He's been and him and Kvaratskhelia have both. Yeah, there's something so romantic about about this Napoli team this season that it's a better story, and at the moment he is just in the form of his life, and I would be surprised if he didn't score at least one in this game.
Nice.
I'm just going to go for another 2-0 Dukes.
Lovely.
They feel like 2-0 FC at the moment, so I'm going for that.
Fair. Henry?
It's a shame. Just want to shout out Cremonese, by the way, for getting their first win of the season.
That's their first goal.
Yeah,
so nice.
So good. Well. They've had such a funny season. Beat Roma twice, beat Napoli on penalties, but hadn't had a win in the league. Finally got one, and now they're like, we're 9 points off from safety. We can do this. Go on, Cremonese. I think they're fair play. You'd love to see it, but yeah, I agree. Like some of Osimhen's goals this year, it's the ones where he's just in the right position. The goalie will save it. It's a deflection will come back to him and it'll go in.
That reads the play very well, doesn't he?
He's just everything's falling in the right place at the moment. Lazio, interesting, pretty mixed. Only won 4 of their last 10 league games, which is a bit tricky. They are on for like 71 points this year, which is a really excellent return. I think in the Conference League they had a really tough time against Cluj just to even get into the next round. They've got Azad Alkmaar, who are no slouches.
Make a little run though.
Yeah. So you'd hope that Lazio would be. I think it's like Villarreal, West Ham, and Lazio in that competition. Fiorentina too, maybe. But yeah, I agree with you. I was going to go for 2-0. Served me well last time.
You can have it as well if you want. Open the door for me.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree with it. Let's go for 2-1.
Nice. You guys have covered that pretty comprehensively. I'm also going to go for a 2-goal deficit, but I think Lazio will get a goal. 3-1 to me. Well, not to me, to Napoli. 3-1 for me. Right, let's move on to Rennes versus Marseille. If you're watching this after Friday, the only game that hasn't happened yet, so you'll know how stupid we look so far. Let's talk Rennes versus Marseille. Sunday, 7:45pm, 5th versus 2nd. 6 points between them. I'll go first because I always get accused of taking advantage of the system to go top of the league. Rennes having a bit of a strange season. They've had 5 wins and 5 defeats in their last 10 games, almost always going alternate results, if that makes sense. And they dropped from 3rd at the World Cup break to 5th, but they're still only 4 points off Monaco. Have dropped a couple of points as well. And they've got big injury issues. Martin Terrier, their joint top scorer, has done his ACL. That's a huge loss. Yeah. But they do still have players that can cause damage. Guiri, Kalimuendo, etc. And it's nice seeing Jed Spence playing a bit of football as well. I think he started their last 3 or 3 in their last 4 as well. But they're coming up against a Marseille side that will be licking their wounds after being beaten by PSG with some unbelievable moments of quality. I think Marseille probably get over the line here, but 2-1 for me. The Cubs, do you see anything different?
Potentially, yeah. I think they're away from home. Marseille, I haven't been like overly impressed with them the last month. I feel like kind of about a month ago we were talking about they've finally broken their kind of inconsistencies. The last month they have been quite inconsistent, and yeah, I still think Rennes are a really good team, and yeah, tough to play away. So
1-1.
I will say you actually took the words out of my mouth there. 1-1.
Love it.
1-1.
Henry, are you going to back the boys? Are you going to back the Rennes? The Rennes.
I did this last time, and Atalanta didn't do it for me. So, yeah, you know what?
So sad about it.
I mean, Marseille did create 2.3 XG against PSG, so they were creating chances. I just wonder if that sudden gap to 8 points is almost a bit kind of
daunting,
sucker punch to that Marseille effort.
Such a 6-pointer, wasn't it? That
yeah,
game?
It really was. Because if they'd won that, then I think I would have definitely backed Marseille. But because they're now, the gap looks...
What, in the league or in this game?
If they'd beaten PSG last week,
backed them in this game,
I'd have backed them in this game. But because there's that kind of feels almost insurmountable now, 8 points, I'm probably going to back Rennes. I think it was probably going to be a draw, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to Rennes.
Fair enough. There we have it, guys. Get your predictions for those games in the comments down below, particularly if you're watching this on Friday before 2 of the games have taken place. Let's quickly talk about Karan JN2 suggestion. Any mid-table sides you could see contending for Champions League spots next season? McCubs, quickly.
Oh, God. Trying to rack my brains here, really.
Leverkusen could be fun.
Leverkusen, potentially. Yeah, they need to get their act together, don't they? But
I think they'll lose a couple of players, though. I think
maybe.
Jeremy Frimpong.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of dependent, but they do still have they've got a side that's improving, and also young as well. So they'll be better. Athletic Club in La Liga is quite an interesting shout. They've been excellent defensively this season. Don't tend to sell unless it's at a really high price for good reason. I'm trying to think other teams in Spain. I mean, Sociedad are going for it this year. Otherwise, I'd have said them. Italy, I can't really think now.
It seems like
but
most clubs are where they should be in Italy.
I think
and
Lyon.
Spain.
I think Lyon. We're counting Lyon as a mid-table side,
Sure.
right? I thought they were going to get Champions League football this season. Doesn't look like they're going to, does it? I think they were. I think it's only a matter of time before we see Lyon back at the top of Ligue 1. And Laurent Blanc is, I know he was out of work for so long, but I think he is a pretty safe pair of hands. So yeah, I think that would be my main shout. Actually, I think Lyon getting back into the Champions League spots.
Sevilla, maybe.
I like that. I know. I think the Sevilla project's a few years away. I actually think Fiorentina are a few good signings away from doing something. I know they're top of Italian
We were pretty pumped
football.
about them last year, but
Yeah, but it's just not quite worked out.
Italiano.
Artur Cabral, the Serbian forward Jovic, they hasn't hit the ground running. But statistically, I think Vincenzo Italiano, who's a good manager, got them playing good football. So yeah, I think Fiorentina a few wins away from doing something. But yeah, other than that, I kind of agree. Villarreal, maybe. They could
Yeah,
get back amongst it if Quique Setien.
they've had some good results.
Yeah, Villarreal's a good shout.
If they get Brereton Diaz in on this pre-contract as they
Zambia.
claim, well, that's the rumours that
There's your free transfer.
the Chilean sensation is going to Villarreal.
Oh, that'd be a shame because Blackburn put out great content with him and their other striker called Gallagher, who they look exactly the same. It's weird. I will go with. I mean, Chelsea. They've got to kind of get back close to the Champions League spots next year.
Definitely.
Liverpool's the solid bet, though. I think they'll definitely improve.
I think Liverpool could get it this year, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean the gap's not very much. I mean they're up to 6th now. But guys, that's Continental Club for another week. Just as a bike or something kicks off outside, doing our weekly interruption. But I hope you guys enjoyed the show this week. Where do you think those free agents should go, etc.? What do you think is going to happen in those big match predictions? Cubs, anything you'd like to push to?
We put an explained out about Mourinho at Roma on the weekend. Once again, the curse of the explained.
It's still doing quite well,
did
though.
strike. It is doing well, but Roma did obviously lose midweek. So yeah.
Did you hear about him booing the Lazio under 14 players? Roma were playing Lazio under 14. Apparently, he was on the sideline like booing them.
That's so funny. Well, but then afterwards he got all the, because Roma won, right?
Yeah.
And then he got all the under 14 players into the senior dressing room and had a little photo shoot, which is quite fun.
He's gone
so
full
I do love
villain.
that.
I like it.
Yeah, it's fun. But I mean, it just suits Roma so much, doesn't it? Especially with their rivalry with Lazio. So yeah, go and check that out. And yeah, that's it.
Nice, Henry.
Yeah.
Perfect. Go check that out, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.